My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to walk through the entire UFC Vegas 57 fight card, and we're going to talk about DraftKings, who should be in your lineup, who's worth it, who's not worth it, and where you can really find some value here. But before I jump in, we have a free DraftKings league. Check it out, weonpicks.com/DraftKings. Hop in there, start playing, compete against us, compete against the rest of the community. It's a ton of fun, and we're just going to do this in fight order. We're going to start at the bottom and work our way up to the top. And the very first fight of the night is Vanessa Demopoulos taking on Jinh Yu Frey. Vanessa Demopoulos is a very good grappler, decent striker. And we saw in her last fight, this win over Gomez Juarez. Oh, you see, wow, submission. What this doesn't show is she was dropped. She was 99% out, able to survive. Gomez Juarez followed her to the mat, and Vanessa Demopoulos submitted her. So what that shows me is Vanessa Demopoulos is stupid tough because she absorbed that beating, and she's always live. She composed herself and still pulled off that submission. And she's fighting Jinh Yu Frey. Jinh Yu Frey is a bully. She's a very good fighter. She's a technical fighter, an experienced fighter. She's a little older, and she carries herself like an experienced fighter, very composed, doesn't panic. But she comes forward, bullies you to the ground, beats you up from there. And if we take a look, this Ashley Yoder win, no takedowns, because she recognized how good Ashley Yoder is on the ground, so she didn't work in the grappling, but she still pretty handily beat her. That was a pretty one-sided decision. Gloria DePaula, another one-sided decision, but look at this, 10.5 minutes of control time with takedowns. And then Loma Lookboonmee, she was, a little overwhelmed there. Loma Lookboonmee's technical striking was a little bit too much, and the Kay Hansen loss, that's a bad look. Kay Hansen submitted her. I think Jinh Yu Frey dominates this fight. I think it's pretty one-sided, but I don't think there's a finish, and I think it looks exactly like this Ashley Yoder fight. And 65 points, because it's just a striking match, is not worth $9,200. So I will not have her in my lineup. If you think Vanessa can pull off another come-from-behind submission, then she should be in your lineup. Then we got Mario Batista taking on Brian Kelleher. And this is interesting because Mario Batista is high-volume, give one to get one kind of striker. He sets a nice pace. He's always coming forward. He's fighting Brian Kelleher, who's really well-rounded and has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. What is really interesting about this fight here against Jay Perrin, 4 takedowns. We had not seen that before. Look at this. The last time he got a takedown was Corey Sandhagen in 2019. So we had not really seen any takedowns, let alone that type of grappling game plan. And Jay Perrin was coming in on short notice. So this Mario Batista here worries me, the one that can get the takedowns. But I do think Brian Kelleher wins this fight. And at $7,500, I like Brian Kelleher in my lineup. If we take a look, okay, he lost to Umar Nurmagomedov. We're going to break him down in a minute. Spoiler, he should be in your lineup. But this Kevin Kroom win was a fantastic win. Also short notice, but 6 takedowns, a knockdown. I mean, this was an outstanding performance. And if we look at his losses, all right, Umar, nasty grappler. Ricky Simone, nasty grappler. Cody Stamann, nasty grappler. All of those were at 145 pounds. This is at 135. I love Brian Kelleher in this fight and in my lineup. JP Buys, Cody Durden. This is very simple. Both of these guys are very good grapplers. Both of them. JP Buys, he showed in this fight against Montel Jackson how tough he is. A lot of people think JP won that first round. The judges didn't give it to him. But the dude was knocked down 4 times. Taken down 4 times. But he just showed how incredibly tough he is, how active he is. How he just never stopped coming forward, never quit in that fight, in a fight where he could have quit. So a lot of people are dogging JP Buys, saying he's not very good, using that fight as an example. But the reality is, JP Buys is very good. I think Cody Durden wins this fight. I like Cody Durden at $8,000. But the reality is, JP Buys at $8,200 is also a great deal. So whoever you like in this fight should be in your lineup, because I am positive there's going to be a ton of grappling in this. And I'm positive whoever wins this fight is going to score a ton of points. So pick your side. Either one of these guys should be in your lineup. Then we got Sergey Morozov taking on Julian Paiva. Sergey Morozov, he's a grappler. He's got some power in his hands. 1 takedown against Douglas Silva de Andrade, but look at this. He also had the knockdown. He almost had Douglas Silva de Andrade out cold. He basically, that first round, he had him out, and he was dominating. And then that second round, Douglas Silva, massive human being, just put it together, dusted that off, and was able to get that submission win. And something's going on with my eye here. I'm getting all choked up at this crazy lineup. Anyway, Sergey Morozov, I think he wins this fight. He's got very good counter striking. The reason that matters is Julian Paiva loves running forward. He just runs forward to close distance. He did it against Phillips. O'Malley, he really never got his feet going, but he just loves charging forward. That's how he gets in the striking range. And the problem is Morozov's got very good wrestling, so he can drop and shoot. Morozov's got very good counter striking, so he can avoid the rush and then counter from there. So I like Morozov to win this fight. The reality is, $8,500. I'd love to get a little bit more of a discount, but $8,500, he's probably worth it. Let's look at Julian again real quick. This fight here against Kyler Phillips was awesome. That was an incredible fight. Back and forth, worked in some solid grappling, had control time, willing to slug it out. He did have a bunch of different poor fight IQ moments in there, but he is really tough, very busy, but I think Morozov gets that done. We got TJ Brown, and he's taking on Shailan Nerdenbeek. TJ Brown, he's an aggressive striker. He's got solid volume, a really good pace, and he works in takedowns really, really well. He averages almost 5 per fight, and you can see that here, 6, 2, none in the Chavez loss, but 7 in the loss against Griffin, and that's an impressive one because he got 7 takedowns, but he was still so outstruck that he lost that decision. But if we look to Shailan Nerdenbeek, similar type fighter. He's a powerful grappler. He likes to come forward with heavy strikes, and he really likes to bully. He bullies in these fights. But the reality is, I'm on the other side. I like TJ Brown in this fight. He's averaging 5 takedowns per fight, and I think he will get the takedowns. I think he's going to be able to work that in. I think he wins the grappling exchanges. I also think he can win the striking exchanges because anytime you get 2 grapplers, sometimes you're going to get a striking match. And, this Charles Rosa loss, granted, Charles Rosa stepped up on short notice. That was a beating. And if it's anything like this, we will get our money's worth. $8,900 is a lot to spend, but DraftKings, the scoring system favors grapplers. So I like TJ Brown there. Then, listen, guys, pick your side. Carlos Ulberg taking on Tafon and Chukwi. Pick your side. Both of these guys are very good kickboxers, right? Carlos Ulberg is probably the more technical striker, but he takes chances. He keeps his hands down. He keeps his chin up. And that could be a problem against a guy like Tafon who hits like a freight train. And what was really, really impressive with Tafon is his last fight. He was dominating this Mirzakhanov fight. Dominating. Looked amazing the first round. Looked amazing the second round. And then his corner between the second and the third round was like, go get that finish. So he ran out there, chased the finish, and just got put out with a knee. But don't let the L fool you. He looked amazing in that fight. And this Tafon Chukwi, if he's not chasing that knockout, may be able to beat Carlos Ulberg. I personally like Ulberg in this matchup because I think he's more technical. And this knockout, 312, was only a few months ago. And it was a pretty bad knockout. And I'm worried that it'll make Tafon gun shy. Okay, he's going to slow down. He's not going to, commit to that power because we need him to commit to the power if he's going to beat Ulberg. If he takes his time, dances around, he's going to get outstruck and out-techniqued. I like Carlos Ulberg, but Tafon Chukwi is great value at $7,900 with the power in his hands. But I like Ulberg. He'll be in my lineup. Chris Curtis versus Rodolfo Vieira. Striker versus grappler. Literally that simple. Chris Curtis, he's got these 2 wins in the UFC. He knocked out Phil Hawes. He knocked out Brendan Allen. Both of them very good grapplers, but both of them thought they could strike. Phil Hawes was actually outstriking Chris Curtis before Chris caught him with the short power. And then he's fighting Rodolfo Vieira. Rodolfo Vieira is a straight grappler, just pure grappler. Striking, while it looked a little better against Stoltzfus, it's still not very good. This loss here against Hernandez, that's because Rodolfo Vieira has no cardio, or had no cardio, none whatsoever. He dominated that first round. This all happened in the first round. 4 takedowns, 4 minutes of control time. That was a beating in the first round. Then in the second round, the guy couldn't breathe. He got submitted, and he lost that fight. He basically quit because of his cardio. But his cardio did look a little better against Stoltzfus. Rodolfo Vieira is a massive 185-pounder, world-level jiu-jitsu. Chris Curtis has an incredible amount of MMA experience, proven power in his hands, and he has no cardio issues. I think Chris Curtis wins this fight. I think he gets it done. $8,600, I don't know what to do with that because Rodolfo Vieira is still Rodolfo Vieira. He's a massive, huge, jacked grappler who's worked on his hands, and I think he is going to get some takedowns. I think Chris Curtis is experienced enough to not get submitted, so I think Chris Curtis wins this fight, but am I going to spend almost $9,000? Probably not. Probably not, honestly. And Rodolfo Vieira is either going to score 5 points or 100 points. So he's feast or famine, but let me know in the comment section what you think about Rodolfo Vieira in this DraftKings lineup, because just because you think somebody's going to win, like I do with Chris, I don't know if he's going to score a ton of points. It's, you know, he can be a low volume guy. That's a really interesting fight. Then we got Umar Nurmagomedov taking on Nate Maness. And with Umar, there's no reason to assume he's not going to continue down this path of destruction. He's only got these 2 fights officially in the UFC, submitted Morozov, submitted Brian Kelleher. He's got ridiculous takedowns, very good grappling, and kicks, insane kicks. All of these are all kicks. There's almost no punches thrown in his fights. It's all kicks. He's fighting Nate Maness. Nate Maness is not a bum. And Nate Maness just smoked Tony Gravely. And Tony Gravely is also a very, very dominant grappler. And he was able to knock him out and get a takedown of his own. So it's really interesting because Nate Maness is live. Nate Maness is very good. The problem that I'm having here is why would I assume that Umar is not going to continue doing what Umar does? So Nate Maness is very good. The best opponent that Umar has fought to date. I still think he gets the takedowns. I still think he dominates from there. So I like Umar to win this fight. I think Nate Maness is a lot better than people are giving him credit for. With that being said, Umar should probably still be in your lineup. Then we got Thiago Moises taking on Christos Gallegos. Thiago Moises, a very good striker, amazing grappler. He's got these 2 losses in a row. Listen, Makhachev, Islam's beating everybody. That loss is going to happen, okay? And it was 4th round at least, so he was able to survive, put together some of his own control time, got a takedown against Islam. The Joel Alvarez loss is interesting because you're going to see, yes, he lost in the 1st round somewhat quickly, but he did have a few minutes of success there. And I know that sounds foolish, but he was landing. He was touching up Joel Alvarez. And it wasn't until Thiago started throwing looping punches, looking for the power, that the Joel Alvarez length and accuracy really just took off from there, and he put Thiago Moises out. My point is, he is a technical striker that was hanging, and it wasn't until he got a little reckless that he had issues. And as we know, he's a phenomenal grappler. He's fighting Christos Gallegos. Christos Gallegos is also a pretty well-rounded guy, but he's mostly a grappler. He's proven that he's never out of a fight. He's coming off this loss to Arman Tsarukyan. And, you know, before that, he's survived a beating and was able to pull off a Darce choke to get it done. And, you know, I like Thiago Moises to win this fight. I think he honestly wins everywhere. I think he's got the better striking. I think he's got the better grappling. You know, so I want him. I'll probably draft him, but $9,000, it's a lot of money to spend, and that's a theme on this card. I'm talking about a lot of these guys who I think win, but then they're $9,000. And $9,000, you want to finish. Can Thiago Moises finish Christos Gallegos? I don't know. Christos Gallegos has proven how tough he is. So, again, I think Thiago Moises wins this fight. I don't know if he's worth $9,000. Alan Badeau, Josh Parisian. Alan Badeau, $8,400, has not had a win in the UFC yet. He's got a ton of finishes outside of the UFC. He's essentially clueless on the ground, but he does have some power in his hands, and he's willing to chase. He'll start spinning. He'll throw wild. He is willing to chase. He's also had kind of a rough go in the UFC. I mean, his UFC debut was Tom Aspinall, for Christ's sake. And he's coming off the loss to my buddy, Parker Porter. And he's fighting Josh Parisian. Josh Parisian also lost to Parker Porter. But if you remember in this fight, look at that, 114 significant strikes. The two of them set a significant strike record. And Josh Parisian, he's just a busy striker. He beat Roque Martinez with 79 significant strikes, 100 total strikes, and he worked in a takedown. Dontel Mays did put him out. Did not have much success leading up to that. Dontel Mays worked in a bunch of takedowns as well. So I do think Josh Parisian wins this fight. $7,800. Listen, both these guys are kind of sloppy, but I think Josh Parisian gets it done. I think it looks exactly like this Roque Martinez fight. 79 points. He's going to get a takedown because, Alan Badeau's got his takedown defense is not spectacular, and once he gets on the ground, he's got nothing to do. So I like Josh Parisian to win this fight. I like that he's at $7,800. I think he'll get a takedown. I think he'll have a bunch of significant strikes, and I think he can avoid the power. And that takes us to Neil Magny taking on Shavkat Rakhmonov. Here's the reality of it. Neil Magny is a very, very good fighter, and he has wins over a bunch of former champions. Robbie Lawler, former champion. Carlos Condit, former champion. Johnny Hendricks, former champion. These are fantastic wins. Kelvin Gastelum. These are fantastic wins. But he looked like trash against Max Griffin. A lot of people think Max won that fight. He looked pretty bad against Jeff Neal, and Jeff Neal got a DUI like 2 weeks before that fight. So I'm not trying to trash Neil Magny. He's a very, very well-rounded fighter. He works in takedowns really well. He's a busy striker. He's a very good fighter. But if we look at this loss, Michael Chiesa took him down a bunch. Had a bunch of control time. And Shavkat Rakhmonov is 15-0 with 15 stoppages. He's submitting people. He's knocking people out. He's getting takedowns. He's doing whatever he wants to do to people. And I think this is more of the same. $9,300. Man, that's a lot of money to spend against a guy as good as Neil Magny. But I think Shavkat Rakhmonov is the real deal. You can't afford Shavkat and Umar and another favorite, but I think Shavkat is a guy that you should seriously consider putting in your lineup. Then we got the main event, Arman Tsarukyan taking on Mateusz Gamrot. These odds blow my mind because Arman Tsarukyan, a nasty grappler. Mateusz Gamrot, a nasty grappler. Each of them only have one loss, and let's look at the loss. Arman Tsarukyan lost to Islam Makhachev in his UFC debut when he was only 22 years old. He did get a takedown, but who did I just break down that? Or Thiago Moises also got a takedown against Islam. So I know he was the first person to take Islam down. Everybody made a big deal about it, but the reality is he lost that fight, and he lost it pretty convincingly. But Arman Tsarukyan is a very, very good fighter. Absolutely mauled Joel Alvarez. Just mauled him. That was an embarrassing beating. And he's fighting Mateusz Gamrot. But look at Gamrot. 4 takedowns, 1 takedown, 2 takedowns, 5 takedowns. This is a fight against Garam Kutaladze, who is a nasty striker. A lot of people think Gamrot won that fight, right? I don't remember how I scored it, but I probably scored it for Gamrot. 5 takedowns. Only 3.5 minutes of control time because Garam had fantastic get-up game. But Mateusz Gamrot is a nasty grappler who knocked out Scott Holtzman, knocked out Diego Ferreira. He dominated Jeremy Stevens. Gamrot's the real deal. So is Tsarukyan. I think this fight should be a pick'em. These odds are blowing my mind. I'm very surprised at how far apart these two guys are in odds and DraftKings pricing. I think Arman Tsarukyan wins because I've never seen Arman have trouble taking anybody down. We've seen Gamrot have some trouble. He got 5 takedowns here, but I think he was 5 of 17. So a lot of those takedowns didn't work for him, and Tsarukyan should be able to defend them. With that being said, you definitely need one of these guys in your lineup. It's 5 rounds. It's probably going to go 5 rounds or go very far. There's going to be a lot of grappling, a lot of control time. It's going to be a very busy fight. I like Tsarukyan to win this fight, but listen, Gamrot's dumb live. And you should consider putting him in your lineup, especially at $7,100. Guys, let me know your picks below. This is a really tricky week. Lots of big favorites that should be favorites, but I don't think they're going to score super well in DraftKings. So there's going to be some really weird lineups out there that do well. Let me know your favorite lineup. Let me know who you should put in your DraftKings contests. And don't forget to join our free Discord. There's a link in the description. Hop into the Discord. Comment there, argue there, and we'll talk about these fights over there. I'll see you guys on Saturday for our pre-fight live stream.